Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle and welcome to my first themed reading vlog. So I am still sick with a cold. Thankfully it is not COVID. I've just been afflicted with your regular schmegler cold and I have been, you know, struggling, fighting for my life a little bit. Today is a work from home day, thankfully. I've just been kind of sick the bulk of the weekend, and Mondays are my work from home days. So I am thankful for that because I can just, have an extra day at home just recovering and then, go to work the next day. Unfortunately, I cannot take more days off because I already almost wasted about a week from my wisdom teeth surgery of time off. And I have a week left and I want to use it for vacation. So don't I just don't want to use all of my PTO for health reasons, Like I mean unless I can't control it, like unless it's like some crazy emergency like my wisdom teeth surgery, then I had to take time off. But for a cold, like I said, the bulk of it was over the weekend. Thankfully, I'm already feeling a little better. Still fighting for my life a little bit, but we are not as congested. Anyways, we're not here for that. We're here for what I'm reading, The Hunger Games. So the new book came out, which is Sunrise of the Reaping. Sunrise on the Reaping. I missed a word. Sunrise on the Reaping. And okay, first of all, little lore, but I love The Hunger Games. I've rewatched the movie like a million times. I love the movies. I read the books as they were coming out. I think the first book came out in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. I was in eighth grade, so I was like 14 at the time, and I read them as they were published. And I absolutely loved The Hunger Games, but I never reread them. I've just watched the movies over and over. And I was 14 at the time of The Hunger Games. So I read them as a teenager. I'm 30. I will be 31 this year. And I thought, well, with a new book coming out, why don't I reread The Hunger Games as a 30-year-old woman? Like, I want to know what my, like, I guess what my thoughts are as a 30-year-old woman rereading The Hunger Games. Like, are they different? Do I have like different thoughts about the books? Like, do are my feelings still the same? I feel like this would be a very interesting return to the series 15 years later. God, I feel so old saying that. Um, so I just thought that would be fun to reread the series before reading the new book. And I've already seen people cry hysterically over this. In case you don't know, this is following Haymitch's story, like him in the Hunger Games. And I love Haymitch. That's my baby boy. I love him, love him, love him. And my good friend Danny, I've mentioned her a few times in my vlogs. Danny, I know you're watching this because you watch my stuff. Love you, girl. But she has been texting me. She's like 6 stars, and I'm like, girl, I'm rereading the Hunger Games, like OG trilogy. Then the Songbird of the Ballad. Oh my god, these titles! I will never like. If the title has more than 3 words, guys, like it's just not happening. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That is the only Hunger Games book I haven't read, and the reason why is because my bestie, he literally tried reading that book 3 times and DNF'd it every time. He was just like, I could not get into this book. And I know that book has had mixed reviews. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people disliked it. There was like no in between. But a lot of people were saying the movie was really good. I still haven't seen the movie yet. But I'm making the decision to go ahead and read it because I've seen a lot of people say that reading that book is important because it adds a more emotional depth to Sunrise on the Reaping. So I'm just going to read it. And I'm going to be mostly rereading the trilogy on Hoopla. I'm going to be listening to it. I do have the physical copies. I have obviously here, The Hunger Games. I have Mockingjay. I ordered Catching Fire and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. They're coming in later this week. I don't know why they all didn't come together, but whatever. But I will be mostly listening to it on Hoopla because I spend most of my time at work. And sadly, like, I don't really have much time when I get home to read physically. So what really helps me get through books is listening to them. And I, listen, I started listening to The Hunger Games, and already, oh my goddamn. But before we get into that, I do want to say real quick that um, I know, like, in case you're new, I always keep my reading vlogs spoiler free as possible. Um, unless said otherwise, which right now is the otherwise. And unfortunately, I do have to make this vlog spoiler filled. I I before recording this, I was like, like writing down some notes, and I'm just like, there's just no way I'm gonna be able to keep this spoiler free because it would be redundant and boring. Like I'd be like, wow, this book is great, and not really be able to give you guys like fleshed out thoughts, especially if I'm comparing my perspective from 14, 15-year-old me versus to 30-year-old me. I feel like I wouldn't be able to give you guys fleshed out thoughts. So I will be making this vlog spoiler filled. So keep that in mind. If you guys are continuing this video, that I will be spoiling the whole thing. Everything. I'm reading all the books, all of them, and I'm spoiling everything. I'm saying my thoughts. So, yes, sorry guys. I try to keep everything spoiler free, but this time, logistically speaking, it just wouldn't make sense to keep this spoiler free. So I'm so sorry. But yeah, with that being said, I already started listening to The Hunger Games, and I am on chapter 3. And already, y'all, 3 chapters in, I'm like 5 stars. Five fucking stars. I was getting the same emotions that I first got when I read this at 14. It was already instantly gripping. I was sucked in. I automatically connected with Katniss like this. Okay, like I know she's a teenager. I think she's 16 in the book. And I was 14 at the time. So I was like, that teen angst, that teen anger. When I was 14, I was like, yes, like me and Katniss are like this. But reading this now as a 30-year-old, just listening to her and her perspective and the way she's thinking about the world around her, I'm like, it's taking me back to 14-year-old me. And I was like, yep, this is exactly how I thought. This is exactly how I felt as well. And even as a 30-year-old woman, like some of her thoughts that she has, I'm just like, I understand you, girl. Like, I get it. So instantly, like, I connected with her immediately. Like, it was like catching up with an old friend. So immediately loved and connected with Katniss. Me and my homies, though, we fucking hate Gale. We don't fuck with Gale. I've never fucked with Gale. Like, since day one, since he showed up on that first page, never really fucked with him. Don't care for him. Uh, yeah, and the sentiments remain the same. Every time Gale is on page or says something, my eyes roll to the back of my head. Don't care about that boy. I will say though, because it's been 15 years and I've only like just rewatched the movies, I forgot a lot of details. Like, for example, the Mockingjay badge. It was given to her by her friend, the mayor's daughter, and I was like, "Oh, like these little details I completely forgot. These small details really do add to the emotional like depth to the story, and I just completely forgot about them. So I'm going to keep listening to this, and I think at the halfway mark, I'm going to check in with you guys. But I'm excited. I've been wanting to do a themed vlog for a while, and I know I'm probably not the only one doing like a reread of the Hunger Games vlog. for the new book. I've already seen like two other YouTubers do it. Really think it's a fun idea. Because like why not revisit a beloved series? Yeah, so I will check in with you guys after I hit the 50% mark, and I have to go back to work because these bills got to get paid. I got to pay my bills. So, hey friends, I'm here with my 50% of the way update. I took off the cover because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm reading a hardcover book, I'm so scared of messing up the dust jacket, and I've messed them up before, so now I just get overly cautious and just remove them when I'm reading. But I love this. I love this emblem. I love the gray. It's just so cute. Also, I after posting my previous vlog and looking at my previous clip, I am so sorry about the microphone placement. Like I realized I had the microphone here or here or here or just like covering my mouth, and I'm still getting used to having a microphone. So I am so sorry about that, but I'm being more mindful now and making sure like the mic is not covering any part of my face. I just came back from eating a a triple dipper from Chili's. I am so full. I had to like unbutton the top of my pants earlier today because I feel like I'm about to bust out my jeans. Like I'm full and bloated. I'm still a little stuffy. I'm still recovering from my cold. It's not too bad. I'm like not sneezing or anything like that. Like I stopped taking my Dayquil, NyQuil. Like I'm fine, just a little stuffy, especially now that like pollen is crazy. Y'all, like the pollen, it's disgusting outside. Like it's just green and yellow, like greenish yellow outside. Like it just exploded all over like my car, the street, everything. It is absolutely like disgusting outside. So not only am I recovering from my cold, now my allergies are just whooping my ass, and my eyes are like puffy and irritated, and I'm just like I'm not live laugh living right now. I'm just stuffy and I feel gross. So yeah. um but I went to Chili's, and then my bestie and I went to Trader Joe's and I got some snacks. I got this dark chocolate bark, almond, pretzel, and sea salt. That shit looked good. So I was like, hell yeah, you're coming home with me. Anyways, 50% mark. Guys, I'm not really seeing that much of a difference of how I'm feeling. Like Katniss, like I thought maybe I wouldn't connect with her much anymore because she's a teenager and she has like a lot of teen angst and stuff like that, but um without like trauma dumping or exposing too much of my lore, um I did resonate with Katniss a lot, especially the whole aspect of having to take care of her family. My feelings and my thoughts are still the same. Like even 15 years later, like I feel for her, I connect with her, like I understand her completely, like her thought process and everything. And also just the feelings that I've had remain the same. Like I'm just in awe, and I'm just so captivated by Suzanne's like writing. It's so gripping, it's so engaging. So honestly, there's not really much of a difference that I'm feeling. Like I'm still hooked. I'm still like emotional. Like I'm still like really invested. So that has not changed at all. I did write some notes because again, I have a memory of a fish, and if I didn't write these down, I would literally just be blabbering. So I had to write my notes down. Some of the points I wanted to cover up to the 50% mark. Gale. So, as I stated in my previous clip, Gale, I never liked Gale. One thing I did notice was that he is just angry from the get-go. So, literally from opening page 1 he is just angry. He's just angry and resentful and bitter. Like, when Madge, I think that's her name, Madge, the mayor's daughter, when she's buying berries off of Gale, or Katniss and Gale, Gale is just like attacking her, like basically being like, "Oh, you don't have to worry about having to put your name in more than once for the Tessera," and blah blah blah, and just being like so mean to her. And Katniss is just pointing it out, like not like out loud, but like in her internal monologue, she's just like, "Oh, like it's not Madge's fault. It's not her fault that these are the rules." And but Gale is still like upset about it and blah blah. And I did some annotations. I think I also annotated that part. Let me get to that part real quick. It gets really awkward because like Gale, is complimenting Madge in her dress, and she's like, "Oh, thank you," and then just one thing leads to the next, and he's just starts saying some like bitter ass remarks and stuff like that. And then Katniss is like, "What the fuck, like, bro, um, chill." And after they left Madge's house, she was like, Katniss was like, "I don't like that Gale took a dig at Madge, but he's right, of course. The reaping system is unfair with the poor getting the worst of it." And it's just kind of like, I mean, it's not Madge's fault, but like at the same time, can you blame Gale for being so angry? I just feel like Gale like is a representation of just anger and resentment and bitterness, and just how much that can just fester in a community, and how that leads to just that like that divide, because Katniss also talks about how the capital likes to keep people divided, basically not work together. Like if you can keep people divided and full of fear and hatred and anger towards each other like that, it's just easier to control people. And so Gale unfortunately is just like a victim of that. So he's just angry from the jump, and he's just ready to swing and ready to fight with everybody. And Katniss has talked about how Gale would just like, when they would go hunting, he would just go on rants, and she's just like, "Bro, I don't know what to tell you. This is our life. I don't know what else to tell you." So it was really interesting to basically like reflect on that. And do I still not like Gale? I don't. Will my mind change? Probably. We'll see. Because it's like, even though I don't like him, I feel for him. I really do understand, like, when when you're living in a shitty ass situation, you're gonna be angry, right? So I get it. I get it. Um, One thing I want to say about Katniss though is that I know this is like a very common description of her being very cold and detached from the world around her, but I just feel like that's just a survival tactic. Um, she talks about not showing emotion, especially like when she volunteers as tribute when Prim got chosen to be, in the Hunger Games, and she's like trying to push Prim off of her when Prim's like being emotional and hugging her and being like, "No, like don't go," and she's just like, "No, like I can't look weak or I'll be like an easy target." So to me, it's just like she's doing this to survive. I just love the way Suzanne just like writes like the depths of characters, like what each character has to do in order to survive, because people are surviving. Like they're not live, laugh, loving. They're surviving. So you gotta do what you gotta do. And if that means Gale having to be angry all the time and Katniss having to be cold and detached from people, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Enter Peeta, and he is the opposite of that. I've written down here that Peeta is sweet and trusting and warm and caring and soft. Um, you can tell by how he helped Katniss out with giving her burnt bread. And not only that, but um, even when they meet Haymitch on the train on the way to the Capitol, he helped Haymitch when Haymitch was like drunk and throwing up. Like he helped him, cleaned him up. He's very the way that he talks, the way that he expresses himself. He's a very vulnerable character. So he's very opposite of Katniss. And I think it's very like interesting how the love triangle with Gale being this angry person, Katniss being this very cold, detached person, and then Peeta being this warm and soft person. So it's just like, should Katniss be with this person who represents anger, resentment, bitterness, or be with this person who is warm, soft, vulnerable? So it's just like, oh my God, it's just so good. But I just think it's so funny because Katniss really treats Peeta as her op. Like she does not trust him. She's like, I don't trust Peeta. He's doing this shit on purpose because he's trying to get me killed because we're in the Hunger Games. He's gonna try to kill me. She does not fuck with him. Haymitch and Peeta have more of a relationship. Like they work together, and like Haymitch and Katniss do not work well together. Like Haymitch will try to like work with Katniss, but it's just their personalities clash so much. So it's just so interesting to see the relationship in this book because they like don't really fuck with each other like at all. Like Katniss like thinks he's like disgusting and a drunk, and like Haymitch is like, bro, you are bland and unlikable. And basically, once they get to the capital, it's just them, practicing for the Hunger Games, but it's more like it's like split. So it's like training for the Hunger Games and then doing like media training. So Effie has like Katniss and heels and practicing, how to be in the public and stuff like that. And Cinna is just like her stylist. And yeah, so it's just like basically like it's just so crazy because it's like, all right, we're gonna prep you and we're prepping you for the PR side of it and then training you and then good luck because you're probably gonna die now. And then we have the famous scene where Katniss is showing off her talents to the game makers and they're ignoring her and she shoots an arrow through the apple that is in the pig's mouth and that got their attention. And my favorite line, thank you for your consideration. And she leaves. And I'm just like, she is just such a bad bitch. I love Katniss. She's just, yeah, I admire her so, so much. And then this is like the part where I do wish I was reading this for the first time ever because, after all that training and stuff like that, they have to do like the interview with Caesar. Katniss is like, she's nervous about it because she's not like, it's not like she's not likable, but she's not very like extroverted like that. And Cinna is like, prepping her. She's like, hey, just be yourself, be honest, pretend that you're talking to me. I just really like that she tried to just be herself. I just liked her interview. And then we have Peeta, who, by the way, oh my God, if there's one thing that Peeta can do, he he has everybody gagged. Like he has me gagged, okay? Like this is what I mean, but I wish I was reading this for the first time ever in my life because when Caesar's asking Peeta like, "Oh, you got a girl back home?" and he's like, "Nah, but there's this girl who didn't know I existed until now." And Caesar's like, "Okay, well you got to win and then come back. And then get your girl." And then Peeta's like, "That's not going to happen." And Caesar's like, oh, "Why? Like she got another man?" And he's like, "No, cuz he came here with me." Shut up. Shut up. Oh my God. That still had me deceased. Like 15 years later, I was still like, and then they have the audacity to end it like that. Literally, it's like, because she came here with me, end part one, part two, gagged. I was gagged. We have part two where you start with the games. And guys, this is when shit gets crazy. Like, I'm telling you, shit starts hitting the fan. Basically, once the tributes get sent to the arena, they're on this platform. The countdown begins, 60 seconds countdown. And if you step off that platform before the 60 seconds, you get blown to smithereens. And all I'm going to say is that if I were in the Hunger Games, I would 100% step off that platform and get blown up, because I'm just not doing that. I'm just respectfully, I'm not participating. Like, I'm not fighting, I'm not running, I'm not surviving. I'm not doing any of that. I just don't have the will. Like, the will to live is not that strong. Like, like that's just too much work. So I would jump off that platform before the 60 seconds and get blown to smithereens and call it a day. Once those 60 seconds were up, Katniss, her plan was to run into the cornucopia, because there's a cornucopia like in the middle of the arena with hella supplies. And obviously it's there to like entice the tributes to run there and then obviously try to kill each other over supplies. And Katniss sees a bow and she wants that bow. Like, she wants it. And because she's like, that's mine, it's for me. But, you know, she's eyeing it, and then Peeta, from the side, because Peeta's trying to make sure she stays alive. Like, that man loves her. He loves her some Katniss. And he's just looking at her like, don't do it. Don't. And she's over there like, she hesitates, and then she's like, fuck, it's too late. Like, I can't grab it, because now everybody's like running towards the cornucopia. So she sees like an orange pack and she runs after it, and then she starts getting in a scuffle with this other dude from District 9 over the pack, and then he gets killed, like a knife straight through his back. He just like coughs blood on her face. Like, it's crazy, y'all. She just got blood all over her face, and she just snatches the pack from him and books it to the forest. She's like, okay, well, I gotta get out of here because it's crazy now. In the movie, it's like you're seeing her, survive and everything once she runs into the woods. But like in the book, Katniss almost dies from dehydration. Like, she does not have access to water for like a good bit. Chapter 14 is my favorite, because this is like when her and Rue start interacting. So this is after, Cato and Peeta and Glimmer, and I think some other person find Katniss up in the tree, and they're like, oh, we found her, we're gonna kill her. And Katniss is like, y'all come up and get me. And they try to climb up the tree, they can't. So they're like, okay, well, we're gonna wait you out. So they're literally like, so all of them are camping out under the tree that Katniss is sleeping on. And then Katniss spots Rue, and Rue's like pointing at a nest of tracker jackers, and they are poisonous. Like, their poison makes you hallucinate, and too much of it kills you. And Katniss is like, oh, well, you just gave me the brilliant idea of cutting that nest down on these people. So this whole chapter is insane. It's literally her cutting down that nest, but obviously in the process of it, she gets stung by 3 tracker jackers, and it's so graphic because she talks about how the lumps like basically explode like with green pus, and it's just disgusting. Glimmer, she gets the most like stings from the tracker jackers. She just watches her twitch to death. She ran back to Glimmer to basically retrieve the bow and arrow from her. And she talks about how her features were eradicated, her limbs 3 times their normal size. The stinger lumps have begun to explode, spewing putrid green liquid around her. She has to break several of what used to be her fingers with a stone to free the bow. The violence in this book is graphic. I stopped at chapter 16, so that is where I'm at now. And in chapter 15, you're basically seeing Rue and Katniss and their relationship develop. And then Rue and Katniss are discussing their way of life in their districts. And Katniss talks about how like they're probably not showing this on TV because the Hunger Games is like screened. Like, everybody in the capital and in the districts are watching the Hunger Games being played out. And Katniss is like, I'm pretty sure this part, our conversation is not being aired right now because districts are not allowed to learn about other districts. And obviously it's on purpose because it's like, the capital doesn't want districts to know how other districts live. District 11 is rough, y'all. Like, they're not allowed to eat the food that they pick, and they get beaten for it and killed for it. Rue was talking about how this one kid took these night goggles, just a little kid, he just wanted to play with them and he took them and then he got killed for it. And then that had Katniss reflecting like, damn, I feel kind of lucky right now that I live in District 12 because they're like the poorest district and the most ignored, that the capital doesn't really care about them. So Katniss is like, this is kind of crazy that I'm feeling kind of grateful that I'm from District 12 because District 11 sounds insane. But that is where I'm at right now. And my next update will be when I finish book 1. So I will see you guys then. Hey friends. So today is Monday, March 31st. Finished the Hunger Games. So I was at Pet Boys getting my oil changed and I picked up where I left off. Katniss and Rue are getting to know each other and they're talking about their districts, which is illegal in a way because the districts are not allowed to talk to other districts. I was obviously listening to the book while driving around doing my errands, and I knew it was coming. I knew Rue's death was coming, and I've seen it a million times, watching the Hunger Games. But again, I've read this 15 years ago. So I didn't realize how sad and impactful Rue's death was going to be. I was at the Pet Boys in the waiting lobby, almost bursting into tears. So Rue and Katniss, they successfully blew up the careers pile of food and other resources, and they were supposed to meet up, but then you hear Rue scream and she gets killed by the boy from District 1. He shoves a spear into her abdomen, very deep. Like there was no healing from that. Like Katniss, when she saw Rue on the floor after killing the District 1 boy. So this was her first kill out of pure hatred and violence and vengeance. This chapter, I think it's chapter 18. Yeah, chapter 18 was so impactful because this is like the climax of the book. It's like the turning tide of everything, right? Katniss, throughout the whole game, she's worried about the Capitol, she's worried about the cameras, she's like performing, she's putting on a performance. But here, this is just her being herself when she finds Rue injured, like gravely injured. And Rue asks her to sing her basically to sleep. In the book, there is a whole ass song. And the narrator, I forget her name. She does an amazing job singing the song. And I'm at that Pet Boys fighting for my life. Just like oh my god, like I'm literally like tearing up and I'm just like listening to the narrator just like sing this sad song. I keep forgetting how important music is in the Hunger Games because Katniss's father was a singer. Like he sang songs. And Katniss stopped singing, when her father died. The song that Katniss sings, she says here, what my music teacher calls mountain air. But the words are easy and soothing, promising tomorrow will be more hopeful than this awful piece of time we call today. I'm not gonna sing y'all the song because I can't find a note to save my life. But the song goes, deep in the meadow, under the willow, a bed of grass, a soft green pillow. Lay down your head and close your sleepy eyes, and when again they open, the sun will rise. Here it's safe, here it's warm, here the daisies guard you from every harm. Here your dreams are sweet, and tomorrow brings them true. Here's the place where I love you. And then as the narrator like sings, like she starts adding like emotion to the way she's singing because Katniss is like obviously like tearing up, like choking as she's like singing Rue to sleep and Rue's like dying in her arms. And that's the part that got me. Like I was trying so hard not to cry. Deep in the meadow, hidden far away, a cloak of leaves, a moonbeam ray. Forget your woes and let your troubles lay. And when again it's morning, they'll wash away. Here it's safe, here it's warm. Here the daisies guard you from every harm. And then she literally says in the book, the final lines are barely audible. Here your dreams are sweet and tomorrow brings them true. Here's the place where I love you. And then that's when Rue dies. And I'm like, what the fuck? These are children. These are children. Suzanne, respectfully, what is wrong with you, girl? Puts in perspective, violence against children. I feel like children are a group of people who aren't valued, aren't respected, aren't listened to. Very oppressed group of people, very vulnerable. Just reading chapter 18 was insane to me. Thereafter, the game makers announced um, that they changed the rules and that two people of the same district can win. So Katniss is on the hunt for Peeta, and she does. And this part has me dead because all I can remember is just like in the movie when Peeta is just like painted in mud and stuff, and that's literally how she finds him. And this part is so disgusting. Like, oh my god, it's so gory. Like, she finds him, she tells him like, hey, like, did you hear the new rules? We can win this together. And he is just so like, this book is not funny at all. But every time Peeta is on page time, he just be cracking jokes. And honestly, big same, because I'm the type of person that laughs through pain and trauma. Humor, me and humor. That's how we're here today. Because I have to make everything a joke. I had to make everything funny in order to survive. So I understand Peter 100%. Like, he is literally dying and cracking jokes, and I do the same. But she finds him and he's like, "You here to finish me off, sweetheart?" And she's just like, "Shut up. Let me fix you up." So she cleans him off and she chews up the leaves that Rue gave her to put on the stingers. And then that's when she noticed that big gash that Cato leaves on his upper left thigh. And this part is so disgusting. Like, trying to be as gentle as I can, I remove his boots, his socks, and then very slowly inch his pants off of him. I can see the tear Cato's sword made in the fabric over his thigh, but in no way prepares me for what lies underneath. The deep inflamed gash oozing both blood and pus, the swelling of the leg, and worst of all, the smell of festering flesh. Ugh. Ew, 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 ew. I literally had the ick reading this. I cannot do body gore like that. So that was so disgusting. And then Peeta's just like, "Does it look bad?" And Katniss is like, um, I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna try my best. So she tries her best to clean him up. She chewed up some more of those leaves and put it on his leg. Ugh, this part is also disgusting. Within minutes of pressing the handful of chewed up green stuff into the wound, pus begins running down the side of his leg. I tell myself this is a good thing and bite the inside of my cheek hard because breakfast is threatening to make a reappearance. I also would have thrown up on him. 100%. 100%. Katniss is like, "I'm not like my mom and Prim. They're the nurses of the family. They can handle all that. Me, I can't do that. I cannot do that at all." And then this whole time, Pete is like, "Katniss, how about that kiss?" Like, this man, his whole leg about to fall out his body, and this man worried about some damn kiss. And then I literally wrote here, I annotated here, Peeta is funny, full of love, warmth, and hope. And that's honestly what Peeta represents to me. The game makers announce a feast a few days into Katniss taking care of Peeta. And a feast is basically a way to get the tributes to come together. And the feast can mean anything. It can actually be like mean food or anything that the tribute needs in order to survive. And it's a sadistic way of getting the tributes to get together to get the supplies that they need, but also if they can kill each other, kill each other. She goes to this feast. She gets attacked by Clove, and Clove is like, "I'm gonna kill you." And then Thresh saves her life, and then Thresh runs off, and Katniss runs off with the medicine, cures Peeta, and then they wait a few more days for Peeta to get stronger. Thresh dies. And now it's time for the final showdown between Katniss, Peeta, and Cato. So they as Peeta and Katniss make their way back to the cornucopia, because they know for sure the game makers are pushing them there, and they're just eating and waiting for Cato to show up. And he does. Cato shows up. And Katniss and Peeta are hood ready. Peeta takes out his knife. Katniss has her bow and arrow ready. But then Cato runs past them. And they're like, what the hell? And so they climb up the cornucopia, and I was so frustrated at that part. I'm not gonna lie. They should have just killed Kato then, because Kato's just like catching his breath. He's out of breath. He's like about to throw up. He's like gagging from like running. But Peeta and Katniss are preoccupied with the mutts, because even though they climb up the cornucopia, they're still in an area of the cornucopia that is low enough for the mutations to be able to jump up. Katniss is using a few of her remaining arrows to shoot off at the mutations, and that's when she realizes that the mutations are the tributes. They are the tributes. So after that, one of the mutts do end up biting Peeta really badly in the calf. And then Kato snatches up Peeta, and he has him in a headlock. Katniss is like, crap, I don't know what to do, because if I shoot Kato in the head, they both fall over and get eaten by the mutts. So they're both at a standstill, and Peeta with his blood draws an X behind Kato's hand, and Kato's just like, oh, you're right. And she shoots an arrow to Kato's hand, and then he instinctively lets go of Peeta to grab his hand, and then he falls over to the ground. And this part is also very, very brutal. Katniss tends to Peeta's leg and makes a tourniquet out of her last arrow, because he's bleeding out profusely. Like, the bite is bad. They lay together on a cornucopia waiting for the cannon to go off for Kato, but because he is in body armor, the mutts are taking their time ripping him apart. And throughout the whole night, they just hear Kato like moan, groan, scream in pain. Katniss is like, I can't keep doing this, and takes the arrow from the tourniquet and kills him. And then, Katniss and Peeta are like waiting for the announcers to say something. And then the game makers are like, oh, haha. After a close look of the rule book, there can only be one survivor. Sorry. Yeah. And Katniss is like, fuck this shit. Fuck the Capitol. I'm not playing by their fucking games, okay? I die on my own terms, because Peeta and Katniss refuse to kill each other. Like, they're not going to kill each other. So Katniss, she had a little bag of nightlock berries. She's like thinking to herself, she's like, the Capitol needs someone to win. That is the rule. The rule is one person can win. What if I say fuck you and we both die and there are no winners? So Katniss, grabs a handful of berries, puts it in Peeta's hands. She puts it in her hands, and she's like, on a count of three. And Peeta's like, all right, because Peeta is about it. He's like, I'm whatever. I don't care. On a count of three, they end up putting the berries in their mouth. But then the game maker, he's like, stop, 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 stop. I announced the winners of the 74th Hunger Games, Katniss and Peeta. And they spit out the berries, and they won. They won the game. And then Haymitch basically tells Katniss, like, you're in trouble. You are in trouble, girl. The Capitol knows that you played in their face with the nightlock berries. So you need to keep up this act that you're in love with Peeta, or we're all fucked. And Katniss is like, fuck. So while they're doing the post Hunger Games interviews and everything, she's all like lovey-dovey on Peeta, blah blah blah. Senna dresses her up in very, very innocent girly girl look, and it's just so crazy how we have to talk about this, because this is very important. Fashion has always also been political. If anybody tells you that fashion isn't a political statement, they're a liar, because fashion plays a huge role in the Hunger Games, because Senna, he rebels against the Capitol through dressing up Katniss. Senna's role is to make Katniss look innocent, girly, just a girl in love. She's just a girl. She's just so innocent. So he dresses her up in like a very simple, cutesy yellow dress, and it makes her all glowy and cute and in love. And her makeup is very subtle and rosy, and she's supposed to look very cute and innocent. And it's The Hunger Games has layers, okay? Layers. And fashion is a really, really big one. And then once that's over and they're on the train back home, Katniss eventually tells Peeta the truth after Haymitch is like, keep it up. Keep up the good work, y'all doing good. And Peeta's like, what the hell is he talking about? And Katniss she just couldn't lie anymore. She was honest with him. And Peeta was like, oh, you were lying. Okay, cool. And then he leaves her. And that's how the book ends. Like he's just like, all right, cool, bye. And it's just so the book ends so depressingly. I'm like, oh my God, like this is so sad. 5 stars. Like there's I literally cannot rate this anything below 5 stars. This is a beautifully written book. There's so many layers to this book. Suzanne Collins is a genius. And with that being said, we started Catching Fire. I am on chapter 5. The one thing I do remember from 15 years ago, I loved Catching Fire more than I liked The Hunger Games. I just think Catching Fire had more emotion to it, more depth to it. I just really liked the themes in Catching Fire. And Catching Fire starts off, I want to say maybe a few weeks to maybe a few months after the events of the Hunger Games. And basically, Katniss is explaining that they're about to go on a victory campaign. And it's a way for the Capitol to remind the districts that the Hunger Games is still a thing because their victory campaign happens a few months before the reaping for the next Hunger Games. And this one's going to be big because it's the Quarter Quell. And the Quarter Quell is like every 25 years. The rules for the Quarter Quell change. And they always make it like something big. And I'm pretty sure Haymitch was in the previous Quarter Quell, the 50th Hunger Games. And if I remember correctly, Katniss says that for that one they did like double the reaping. So I think it was 4 from each district. So far, Katniss is trying really, really hard to go back to the life before the Hunger Games. So she's staying in her old house while her mom and Prim are in the new house. They live in the Victor's Village. And Peeta's there, Haymitch is there, but Katniss is like, I don't want nothing to do with that. Like, I want my old life back. Like, she's literally hunting. That's where we start off. She's back in the woods, she's hunting, and Gale has been weird with her, obviously, because he has feelings for Katniss. And I just feel so bad for Katniss because it's like, there's just like a lot of pressure for women to be married, to be in a relationship, to start a family. And Katniss since day one is like, I don't want none of that. I don't want to be married. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to do none of that. And I support that. I am like her number one supporter in that. And it's just so sad because it's like she's being pressured to have some sort of romantic relationship. And she doesn't want it. She just wants to go back to her normal life. She just wants to be hunting. So then President Snow pays a visit. It was a very terrifying chapter, I'm not going to lie, because Snow isn't that present in book 1, but he has a heavier presence in book 2. And he is absolutely terrifying because literally she sees her mom scared as fuck. And she goes into the study room and there's President Snow and she's just like, he smells like blood and roses. And I'm like, hell no, that is scary. And he's just so icy and cold and evil. And he's just like, I know your little secret. I know you're not in love with Peeta. I saw you and Gale kiss that one time. I got eyes on you, girl on fire. And Katniss is like freaking out because she was like, I didn't mean for all that to happen. I was just like, basically Katniss just being herself. But being herself is a rebellion to the Capitol. And because, Katniss refuses to bend to the whims of the Capitol and she's being herself, it's causing uprisings. And she's becoming an icon, basically. And Snow's like, we can't have that. So what are we gonna do about this? And then Katniss is like, just kill me now. And Snow's like, I'm not stupid. If I kill you now, everybody's gonna know and it's gonna create more problems. And she's like, oh, okay, so what do you want me to do? I'll do it. I just want to keep my family safe. He's like, I need you to convince me that bullshit you pulled in the Hunger Games, you were genuinely in love with Peeta, because right now you don't love that boy. I know you don't love that boy. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna prove it to you that I do love him. And he's like, good, convince me, because if you don't, your family dies. And she's like, okay. So I was so stressed out. I was like, oh my God, this is awful. So he leaves and she tells Hamish, she's like, hey, so this is what happened. Hamish is like, yeah, um, the Hunger Games never goes away, girl. Like, it's like once you've been reaped, you are a part of the capital property. You have to obey the capital. Like anything they want, you do. It makes me think if Hamish drinking and being drunk all the time is his way of rebelling against the capital. The part that I left off is when Peeta and Katniss go to District 11 to do their victory speech. Peeta is like, you know, for Thresh and Rue's family, we'll give them an earning of our wins every year. Katniss's strategy was just to be quiet and smile and da da da, because she's not good with talking to the public, but Peeta is. But she sees Rue's sister just staring at her, and Katniss is like, I can't just be quiet. So after Peeta finishes his speech, Katniss is like, wait, let me say one more thing. And she just makes this really heartfelt speech about Thresh, about how he was himself. He didn't want to be with the careers. Like, he wanted to die in his own terms and not the terms of the capital. And then Rue, she said, but I feel as if I did know Rue, and she'll always be with me. Everything beautiful brings her to mind. I see her in the yellow flowers that grow in the meadow by my house. I see her in the mockingjays that sing in the trees. But most of all, I see her in my sister, Prim. And so that was such an impactful speech. And then one of the old men in the crowd does the District 12 sign of respect. And I think he also does the 4-note call. And he gets taken up stage by the Peacemakers and gets executed. And so that is where I left off. I'm going to continue reading today. These books are so, oh my God, they're so engaging and I get sucked in every time I start reading it, but they're so sad and they're so bleak. I can't help but feel really heavy after I finish a few chapters. But I'm gonna go back and annotate some stuff. So I'll see you all later. This is also probably gonna be a very long vlog. I hope you guys don't mind. But I'm having fun. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Hello. Oh my God, I have not recorded from this angle in I don't know how long. I've just been like putting my camera on this stack of books right here and just recording from over here. So I know my background has been a cardboard box with some 3D prints. We have not seen my bookshelf. We have not seen this wall in a minute. I brought you guys a little bit closer so the ring light isn't too heavy on my glasses. I could wear my contacts, but guys, my eyes are so fucking irritated from this pollen. It's ridiculous. Like, it is, we had like a storm on Monday and it washed most of the pollen away, but the pollen is back. Okay. The pollen is back. It's disgusting outside. My eyes are like irritated 24/7. I can't put on my contacts because my eyeballs are on fire if I try to wear my contacts right now. So we are wearing my glasses. So sorry for the reflection of the ring lights. But yeah, so we have reached the 50% mark on Catching Fire. Obviously, I had to stop because I needed to do an update video and I was going to film it yesterday. But guys, like, I know I mentioned this earlier in the clip, but every time I finish a chapter or so, in Catching Fire, I just get so sad and I feel so heavy. And yesterday, I just felt so depressed after, like, because so much crazy, guys, so much crazy shit has happened since the last update. And it's just so bleak and depressing and stressful. And when I finished chapter 14, I was like, I don't want to record. I don't want to do anything. I just need to decompress because this is so sad. First of all, I want to say that the quarter quill doesn't even happen like yet. Like, I am on, like I said, I'm at the halfway point. Quarter quill hasn't even started yet. This, like, from the beginning of Catching Fire, even past the 50% mark, it is a slow but very important buildup of what is going to happen near the end of Catching Fire. After, the events of District 11 and the execution of the old man and then the peacemakers shooting into the crowd, it's the fire catching fire, right? The fire is spreading, the fire is catching, the act of rebellion, the need to rebel is commencing. Okay. And Katniss is freaking out because she's like, Snow's going to literally kill my whole family if I don't convince him of my love of Peeta, if I don't calm the crowd down. So after the events of District 11, Katniss tells Peeta, like, what happened? Because Haymitch is like, we gotta tell Peeta because this is getting crazy. She tells Peeta, obviously, and rightfully so, Peeta is pissed. He's like, y'all, like, we need to communicate with each other. I know that we have to put up a front. We have to act as star-crossed lovers for President Snow to save our lives. Like, I know that we have to do this, and we need to communicate with each other if we want to survive, if we want to do this the right way. And Haymitch and Katniss agree. So basically, from then on, we're just watching Katniss and Peeta go on this like victory campaign tour and pretend to be star-crossed lovers, acting their heart out, like putting up a performance for the Capitol, putting up a performance for President Snow. Peeta even proposes to Katniss as soon as they get to the Capitol and they're doing an interview with Caesar. And President Snow surprises them and congratulates them, and he's like, we can host the wedding at my mansion. And Katniss is like, oh yes, we did it. All this hard work that me and Peeta put in to convince President Snow that we're in love and he believes us because he wants to host our wedding, blah blah blah. So she gives him a look and she's like, we good, like, we good? And President Snow is like, no, we're not good. We're not. And she's like, oh, oh. The next few chapters is just her like accepting that President Snow does not, like, he was not convinced, he was not bought. He was like, no, like, you're still screwed. You're still screwed, period. And to her, she finds like this freedom in accepting that fact that President Snow just did not buy it. And she starts acting out at one of the banquets. She starts like eating everything. Like, she's like, I want to try every food. I want to eat everything, blah, blah, blah. And Peeta's like, okay, sure. And she ends up meeting the new head game maker, Plutarch, because Seneca got executed for letting Katniss and Peeta eat the berries. Because when President Snow visited Katniss, he was like, if it weren't for Seneca, I would have blown you and Peeta up to smithereens the minute y'all put the berries in y'all's mouths. And Katniss is like, oh my god. Like, guys, President Snow is terrifying. Like, he had zero presence in the Hunger Games, but in Catching Fire, he scares me. He's a terrifying villain. Like, my goodness, he's scary. But anyways, yeah, so she meets Plutarch and they're chit-chatting, blah blah blah. And he shows her his pocket watch. And I think he like moves his thumb over it or something, and then a Mockingjay image appears and then disappears. And Katniss is like, what's that supposed to mean? And Plutarch is like, anyways, I'm running late. I gotta go to this meeting. And she's like, okay. Besides all that, mostly those chapters is just Peeta and Katniss and their relationship growing and thriving. And they make really good friends. Like, I really appreciate the relationship. Like, Peeta is very caring, very honest, very kind. And you can see Katniss, she like softens up a little bit when she's around him, and you can tell that Katniss really does enjoy like being around Peeta. Like, he is a calming presence for her. And I feel so bad for Katniss because I can tell that she does love Gale and Peeta, because she thinks about Gale too. Like, she thinks about him and worries about him, but you can just tell she does not romantically like care about these boys. It's very platonic, and I feel so bad for her because it's like she already has like the weight of the world on her shoulders, and then now it's like this pressure to find love romantically with Peeta, well, forcefully, because like she has to, or her family dies. And then Gail, in one of the later chapters, like when they're meeting up, he's like, "Oh, I love you," and she's like, "Um, I don't know about that." And I just feel for her because it's like, damn, like, why can't y'all just be best friends? Like, it's okay to have a platonic relationship. Like, I just wish that the romance wasn't forced and they were just like best friends for real. Like that, I feel like that would have been nice, but it is what it is. So after their victory tour is over, they return from the capital back to District 12, and they have another like dinner banquet at the mayor's house. Once she gets there, she is looking for Madge, and Madge, I hate that they leave her out in the movies because she's genuinely a very important character. Like she doesn't have that much presence in the book, but she's still very important because she's Katniss's friend. Like she they're like really good friends. Like even Katniss teaches Madge how to hunt, and they build a relationship together. When she got ready at the mayor's house, she wanted to find Madge before the banquet, and she goes into the mayor's study room because she's like, oh, sometimes Madge is in there. She goes in there, Madge isn't in there. She sees like the interview clips of her and Peta with Caesar and everything, and she's like, oh, okay, whatever. And as soon as she's about to leave the study, the TV beeps, and then there's this news reporter that Katniss has never seen before. She's like, who? What news channel is this? What news reporter is this? I've never seen this in my life. So she says, I'm leaving the room when a beeping noise catches my attention. I turn back to see the screen of the television go black. Then the words "Update on District 8" start flashing. Instinctively, I know this is not for my eyes, but something intended for only the mayor. I should go, quickly. Instead, I find myself stepping closer to the television. An announcer I've never seen before appears. It's a woman with graying hair and a hoarse, authoritative voice. She warns that conditions are worsening and a level 3 alert has been called. Additional forces are being sent into District 8, and all textile production has ceased. They cut away from the woman to the main square in District 8. I recognize it because I was there only last week. There are still banners with my face waving from the rooftops. Below them, there's a mob scene. I've never seen anything like it, but I can only be witnessing one thing. This is what President Snow calls an uprising. So she's witnessing an uprising for the first time ever, and she's like, oh my God. And so she's just like, okay, we gotta go. We have to run away. So she runs away, finds Gail. She's like, we need to go. And Gail's like, okay, sure. And then Gail gets, this is the part that really upset me about Gail because like she's like, yeah, we need to get Peta, we need to get Hamish, we gotta run away with our families. And he's like, whoa, whoa. And you can tell that he gets like a little butthurt about it. He's like, why? And she's like, because like I need to take care of the people that I love. Like we need to run. And he's like, I mean, sure, fine. And then Katniss ends up telling Gail like the reason why. She's like, there was an uprising in District 8, and that literally hearing that made Gail like do a 180, and he's like, what do you mean there was an uprising? And he's like, oh hell yeah, like we can have an uprising here in District 12. Like a few of the miners, we've been talking about it, we can get together, we can do an uprising. And then Katniss is like, whoa, 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 whoa. We're trying to run away. Stop with that crazy talk. There's not gonna be no uprising here in District 12. Me and you, we're gonna get our loved ones and we're gonna run into the woods and live in the woods forever, ever, and ever. And Gail's like, no, I want to do an uprising. And then things go from worse to worser. Gail gets snatched up by the new head peacemaker to get whipped at the square. And Katniss intervenes. She gets whipped in the face. And then Haymitch and Peta jump in and they're like, whoa, 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 and basically use their status to stop the whipping. Katniss, she's like, this is going to have repercussions. Basically, because of Katniss's actions of stopping the whipping, and not only Katniss, Haymitch and Peta as well, everybody in District 12 is being punished. So they replaced all of the old peacekeepers, machine guns along the rooftops, an official whipping post, stockades, and a gallows. Huge banners of Panem, of the symbol of Panem, hang off the roof of the Justice Center. The Hob, the black marketplace, is set ablaze. And then the mines, which is where most of District 12 workers work at, it was closed for 2 weeks. People started kind of avoiding Katniss and Peeta in a way with all this punishment that President Snow is dishing out on District 12. It's also making Katniss like a public enemy in a way. Senna and her prep team come because it's bridal photo shoot day. So all the bridal dresses have been picked by President Snow himself. She gets dressed up, she does a photo shoot a day later. Prim is like excited, like, oh, they're gonna show like your dresses and blah blah blah. And kind of just like, how? The photo shoot was yesterday. Lo and behold, they were showing off her dresses, and even Caesar was like, oh, Capital, y'all vote in which dress she should wear. And it's like several dresses of her, and then people from the Capitol were able to vote like which dress she should wear for her wedding. And Kat is like, okay, that's weird. And then here comes the crazy part. They're like, oh, we're gonna announce the quarter quell stuff now. And I mean, we all know what happens. On the 75th anniversary, as a reminder to the rebels that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital, the male and female tributes will be reaped from their existing pool of victors. And of course, Katniss's mom shrieks. Prim is freaking out. It takes Katniss a minute for her to register that. She's like, huh? And she's like, oh. And then the chapter ends with, I'm going back into the arena. I'm like, oh my god. Then the raping happens. It's not even the same like in book one. It's so quick because obviously Katniss is the only female victor alive. So they're like, all right, well, Katniss. And then, Effie pulls out Haymitch's name. And of course, as we all know, Peeta's like, oh, I volunteer. And so instead of like the first book where people were allowed to visit them and say their goodbyes, they're instantly taken to a vehicle, taken to a train, and taken to the Capitol. Again, we haven't even reached the quarter quell yet, so I'm nervous. I feel like it's gonna go by fast. If I remember correctly, the quarter quell in the book goes by really quickly. So I'm gonna continue reading, and when I finish, I'm gonna give you guys an update. Hi, friends. Hello. So I have several updates. Update number one, we're back to recording in this POV because I realized after the last clip, filming in front of my bookshelf, I much prefer having the camera on top of my books, on my desk, facing me. I don't know, I feel like more comfortable recording this way. And I know you won't be seeing like a stack of books behind me. And we did get rid of the cardboard box that was behind me. You're just seeing some of my husband's 3D print projects in the background. Anyways, so I did finish Catching Fire. And I finished Mockingjay. And I know I said that I would be doing check-ins, but what happened was I got busy. My life got really busy. It was a very busy weekend. And if I had to, stop and make time to do check-ins, I would have taken longer to finish. And not only that, this vlog would be so long. So I'm just like, okay, we're combining my 50% of the Catching Fire update and my complete Mockingjay thoughts in one clip, and we're gonna wrap it up. This vlog has literally proven that your girl yaps. Like, I genuinely and unfortunately don't shut the fuck up. Where I left off. So the quarter quell does not start until chapter 19. The quarter quell is like from chapter 19 to the last chapter. And the majority of Catching Fire is literally the fire catching. And what I mean by that is just, it's like this buildup of all the bullshit that's happening behind the scenes. So after, Katniss and Peeta get to the Capitol with Haymitch, it's literally like a rinse and repeat of the Hunger Games. They got to get ready with training, the interviews, dressing up, all of that. President Snow, this is a way of him to show like not even like the strongest of people, not even the victors of the previous Hunger Games can outpower me, outpower the Capitol. And so Katniss is like, okay, well, we're gonna fight. Like, we're gonna fight, but we're gonna keep Peeta alive. So that is her plan. And then of course we meet Finnick, who is a very popular character. Everybody loves Finnick Odair. Like, you ask any Hunger Games fan about Finnick, and everyone's just like, oh, Finnick, he grows on you, and he just becomes like one of the best characters in the Hunger Games. And Cinna, he makes a reappearance again and styles Katniss. And this time he's very outspoken about his rebellion against the Capitol. Cinna, the way that he rebels is through fashion and making fashion statements on Katniss. So he does not care at this point. Like he at one point makes Katniss's wedding dresses into like this Mockingjay dress after she spins and it combusts into fire. And when she opens up her arms, it like spreads into wings. And that's literally the nail on the coffin for Cinna. Unfortunately, when Cinna is with Katniss and prepping her before she is launched up into the arena, he gets got. She's in the tube, the famous scene, if you watch the movie, the famous scene, she's in the tube, the peacemakers come in, beat him to death in front of her, and she's completely helpless because she's stuck in the glass tube. And he's essentially executed for opposing the Capitol through Katniss's fashion. So it was like a really, really sad moment, and it's done on purpose to Katniss to basically like throw her off her game before getting into the arena. But of course, who can't forget one of my favorite moments in Catching Fire, where Peeta has everybody gagged, and that's when they're doing their final interviews with Caesar Flickerman. Peeta's like admitting to Caesar that like Katniss and Peeta were secretly married, and Caesar's like, oh, how could you anticipate anything like that? Like the quarter quell. Peeta says, I'm not glad. I wish we had waited until the whole thing was officially done. He's saying that about them getting married. And then Caesar says, surely even a brief time is better than no time. And then Peeta says, maybe I think that too, Caesar. He says bitterly, if it weren't for the baby. He mothered that interview. Oh my God. Oh my God. He was so convincing. Katniss thought she was pregnant. I thought I was pregnant reading this chapter. I was like, oh my God, am I pregnant? Like everybody thought they were pregnant. That was a crazy ass scene. All the contestants have been acting up in their own way. Like Joanna Mason, first of all, love her down. Love me some Joanna. She does not care. She acts out. She says whatever's on her mind. She does not care. And you find out it's because President Snow has killed everyone she loves. So she has literally nothing to lose. Then finally we get to chapter 19. The quarter quell happens, and immediately Katniss is like, about Finnick, because Finnick's like, we're allies, right? Like, we're friends. And he shows off like a bracelet to her that was Haymitch's. And she's like, oh, okay, this is Haymitch's way of saying trust him. So she reluctantly trusts him and sees how like focused Finnick is on keeping Peeta alive, her and Peeta alive, to the point where during the whole scene with the fog and they're running away and Finnick is holding on to Peeta and Katniss is holding on to Mags, and she can't anymore because the fog like incapacitates her. Like she can't like walk anymore. She's like, I can't hold her. And Mags, she sacrifices herself into the fog so that Katniss can go on without her and Finnick can continue to carry Peeta. And Katniss is like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is Finnick so like locked in into keeping me and Peeta alive? Like she thinks it's weird, but she doesn't think too much into it until Joanna shows up with Beetee and Wyrus, and Joanna's like, oh, I saved them for you, because she wanted them as her allies. And she was just like saying slick shit here and there. Other than that, it's just like the following chapters are them surviving like the horrors of the arena, and then Wyrus like basically helping Katniss find out that the arena is shaped as a clock. And then Katniss thinks about Plutarch and how he showed her his pocket watch with the Mockingjay. And she's like, is that his way of telling me, like, giving me a heads up of what the arena is going to be like? And then after finding out that the arena is a clock, they come up with a plan to electrify the rest of the tributes using the tallest tree, I think, in the arena that has, that like a lightning strikes it. I believe at midnight and noon. I don't remember. They're doing all that and wrapping this wire around that tree and preparing for their plan. When they have to split up. So it's like Katniss and Joanna have to take the wire to the sea, and then I believe Peeta and Finnick stay behind. And Katniss is like, no, bro, like there is something going on. Like I know there's something going on. After they separate and they go into like close to the shore, the wire snaps, and Katniss is like, what the fuck? Joanna attacks Katniss, but to remove a tracker from her arm. But Katniss is so disoriented, like Joanna gives her a fucking concussion. Like she bonks her upside the head, gives her a concussion. She's mad confused. She don't know what's going on. She's bleeding like crazy from her arm. And Joanna's like, stay down. But Katniss is Katniss. She doesn't listen to nobody. So she's like, with a TBI. Like, that girl got a TBI, okay? And she's running back to Peeta, like, trying to figure out where he is. Because she's like, oh my God, he's in danger. They're going to kill him. She gets back to the tree and sees that Beetee is like laid out on the floor. She sees the force field. The force field's important because it's pointed out to her by Beetee earlier in the book when they're doing training. And then the game makers were watching them. And there was like a force field. So no one else could shoot into where the game makers are because of Katniss. She grabs the wire and she's going to shoot Finnick, but then she remembers what Haymitch says to her, and he's like, remember who the enemy is. And she's like, right, the capital, Snow, fuck them. So after wrapping the wire into her arrow, she points at the force field and shoots at it, which causes an explosion. Then, like, you know, she gets picked up by the helicarrier. You find out that Haymitch and Plutarch have been part of the rebels and they've been scheming for a while. And Katniss is so betrayed because it's like, why didn't you tell me? And she feels used because it's like she already feels used by the capital, but now she feels used by Haymitch and the rebel group. Like she's just like this piece in this chess game. When she comes to in the hospital, Gale's there and she's like, what's going on? And Gale's like being Gale, and he's like, oh, well, you know, I got your mom and sister out. And she's like, what are you talking about? What does that mean to me? What's going on? And he's like, yeah, so there is no District 12. And that's how the book ends. Craziness. It's just been craziness. There's so many other scenes like I loved, like Katniss trying to do some crazy shit and Finnick is like, you're pregnant. Because everybody thinks Katniss is pregnant. Like, you're pregnant. You can't be doing all that. And Katniss is like, oh yeah, maybe I should throw up or some shit or start crying. I genuinely started busted out laughing because I'm like, what? And then I love seeing Katniss's and Finnick's relationship blossom as well. Like, Finnick is an amazing character. He's so funny. He's funny. He's a great character, and I just love her friendship with him. Like how much of herself she is with Finnick. But yeah, Catching Fire was great. I gave it 5 stars. The ending, again, just like reading it 15 years later, even watching the movie a million times, that last line still gets to me. Katniss, there is no District 12. What do you mean? What do you mean? And with that being said, Mockingjay. I just finished this. I need to process. I needed to marinate my thoughts because I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I, for the most part, did not like Mockingjay. So when Mockingjay starts, she is, you know, awakened in the lost District 13 underground. And I'm going to say District 13 and Fallout, they're the same. Okay. If you guys aren't familiar with Fallout, it's this video game series, and we have vault dwellers, and vault dwellers are like literally the same as District 13 people. Like they wear like a jumpsuit, they have strict like orders. Like District 13 is very like it genuinely reminded me of Fallout. But I'm not gonna open up that can of worms because we can be here all day if I start talking about Fallout in District 13. But I will say, District 13 is dystopian in its own way because Katniss starts talking about, like, basically, okay, most of Mockingjay is her life in District 13, and it's very, very, very strict and very scheduled. Like, people have their schedules tattooed on their arm, and it's like, and it's not like, obviously, it's not like permanent ink. It like erases at the end of the day, and then like, I think they have to get in line to get that tattoo put back onto their skin the next day. And their life is broken up into schedules. Like 9 a.m. is school, 1 p.m. is lunch, 4 p.m. is reflection time, 7 p.m. is dinner. Like to a T, you have to follow your schedule or you get in trouble. Reading Mockingjay, I felt very suffocated. And I feel like that's what Katniss felt too. And I felt that way reading Mockingjay. I was like, get me out of here. Like, I do not want to be here. I just was not having a good time. And I don't know if that's like Suzanne Collins's way of like showing District 13, like also being that way, because there would be times of entertainment, like for example when Finnick and Annie got married and everybody was overjoyed. A lot of District 13 citizens were very happy because they don't have fun, they're deprived of joy, and Katniss brings it up a lot. It was just like a slog in a way. It followed like a formula. Like Katniss would just have like mental breakdowns. Finnick also had a mental breakdown, like he's not himself for most of it. Peeta is gone for most of the book because he's captured by the Capitol at the end of Catching Fire. And then he is hijacked with poison that makes him think that Katniss is like an enemy. He does like interviews with Caesar and he's like asking for a ceasefire. And of course the rebels don't appreciate that. So he's gone for the most part in the book. And Katniss is very depressed, very broken, very upset. She ends up in the hospital a lot. President Coin is like, listen, we need you to film these propos. First, they try to make her work off a script. She can't do it. It's not her. And Haymitch is like, people love her because she is herself and she does things from her heart. So they put her out in action. Like they make her visit District 8. She meets a lot of the survivors from District 8 and she meets with them and everybody's so happy to see her. And then later, the Capitol storms in and bombs the hospital that Katniss visited. And it gets a reaction from her, and they're able to record like these really good moments of her and use it to show these propos. But it made me feel so ill because it's like they're using this broken down girl for propaganda videos, and it's just so depressing. Like Mockingjay is so bleak and depressing and sad, and you just see this girl who just wants to live her life and she's still imprisoned. Like she's still part of the games. All she wants is Peeta to come back home and be safe. So Hamish tells her at one point, like, hey, we're going in, we're extracting Peeta and the rest of the tributes, because before Katniss agrees to being the Mockingjay, she tells President Coin, like, hey, not punish Peeta and the others that were captured by the Capitol because it's not their fault. Like, you need to give them full immunity from everything. And of course, President Coin agrees. And so, one part of the book, they go in, save everybody. But of course, Peeta is hijacked and he attacks Katniss. And it's just so sad because he hates her, and I missed Peeta so much because he is genuinely a symbol of love and warmth. Peeta being himself is a way to rebel against the Capitol, because the Capitol takes, ruins, kills, but Peeta remained himself, remained warm and loving and hopeful and trusting and caring. And to see Peeta back and in being the opposite of that was just so tragic to read and so sad. This book is so sad. I was just miserable. I was miserable the whole time reading this. I think that's what really added to me disliking my time reading Mockingjay, because it was just sadness and tragedy after tragedy, especially like when Katniss joins Boggs. He's one of the commanders in District 13, and a few others to go into the Capitol. And everybody starts dying off. Like Boggs gets blown up. Finnick, he dies. That was tragic. And it's just like one by one, everyone starts getting picked off. And then Katniss is just like this never-ending like rumination of her being like, everybody's dead because of me. Everybody's dead because of me. District 12, my loved ones. Everybody dies because of me. And Chrysidia, one of the Propo filmmakers, is like telling her like, well, you're worth it though, because you are like the rebellion. You are the face of the rebellion, so you are worth it to us. And Katniss still doesn't believe it. Like the whole book is just her. It's like self-hate, suicidal. Like girl is suicidal the whole time. Just mental breakdowns. And it's just so sad. And I was just so sad the whole time reading this. And I was just not having a good time. But I'm not trying to invalidate Suzanne's themes, because I think she touches on really good themes, especially like Gale. Gale is he, insufferable. Like literally, this book solidified how much I hated Gale. I was like, no. He was no different than the Capitol people. He was like, blow up the people in District 2. Who cares? Who cares? They don't care about us. Who cares? Like, he wanted an eye for an eye. Like, he wanted to meet violence with violence. He was very black and white in his way of thinking. He was very violent, very angry. Prim dies in an explosion, and it's not confirmed, but we all know it is partially Gale's fault because it did come from bombs that him and Beatty were working on. There's just no happily ever after. There is just no happily ever after because, after Prim dies, Katniss is suicidal, even more suicidal than she already is, and has no will to live. Of course, it's execution day, and Snow's like, hey, she ends up talking to Snow before that, and he's like, hey, I did not kill Prim. I did not kill those kids. I don't waste lives. I don't waste them. Okay? That's not a me thing. And Katniss is like, at first she doesn't believe it, but, when she is prepping for the execution, she's just like, you know what? Coin is no different than you. Of course, the famous scene where she aims the arrow at Snow. She points up and kills Coin. And then it's just so sad because afterwards, like, she's waiting to be executed. She's waiting for her punishment. It never comes. Well, technically her punishment is that she is discarded into District 12 indefinitely, and Haymitch is discarded with her because he's still a drunk. He has not changed. That man is still a drunk, and they're like, there's no room for him in the Capitol since he's still a drunk. And you have to keep an eye on Katniss. And the part that really throws me off was the ride back home with Plutarch, Katniss, and Haymitch. Plutarch is just, he's talking about some stupid shit. Basically, Katniss is like, there's no role for me. Like, this is like after like Katniss is like told that she's going to District 12, and she's like, well, there's no role for me in the Capitol unless, Plutarch is trying to start another war. And so she even asks him, she's like, are you prepping for another war, Plutarch? I ask. And then Plutarch says, oh, not now. Now we're in that sleep period where everyone agrees that our recent horrors should never be repeated, he says. But collective thinking is usually short-lived. We're fickle, stupid beings with poor memories and a great gift for self-destruction. Although, who knows? Maybe this will be a Katniss. And I'm just like, this feels like what's going on right now in our political climate here in the US. Someone please send help. Please. And so basically the ending of Mockingjay is just Katniss rebuilding her life from the ground up with Peeta. They work on this book together, and Haymitch actually talks about the 23 tributes that he has mentored. The last page had me very emotional when Katniss says that what I need to survive is not Gale's fire, kindled with rage and hatred. I have plenty of fire myself. What I need is a dandelion in the spring, the bright yellow that means rebirth instead of destruction. The promise that life can go on no matter how bad our losses, that it can be good again, and only Peeta can give me that. From the beginning, y'all, Peeta has represented warmth, loving, caring, trustworthiness, and that is what Katniss needed, not Gale, who was full of anger and spite and all that. Even though I still don't think that Katniss, like, loved anybody. I know there's like a theory that Katniss is asexual, and I genuinely believe that too. I just didn't feel an inkling of romance, like, from her towards towards Gale or Peeta, but it is what it is. The epilogue was destroyed me too. Like, she ended up having kids with Peeta, and she talked about it a lot in Hunger Games and Catching Fire. Like, she did not want children, but she says that Peeta wanted them real bad, and it took her about 15 to 20 years to finally be like, all right, fine. I don't know. It's just still so sad to me because I'm just like, I feel like she just was like, what else can I do? This is my life now. And I'm just like, damn, this is so sad. Literally, the last chapter in the epilogue made it go from a 3-star to a 4-star because that is what I was missing. That emotional like pull that I got from Hunger Games and Catching Fire. It just wasn't there for me for the majority of Mockingjay, even though, again, I'm not trying to validate the themes that Suzanne was exploring, like war isn't fair. I know a lot of people were upset about Prim dying, and I am one of those people that I do remember that, like, I was very mad about that the first time I read it. I was like, that was so stupid. What was the point of all of this? What was the point of Katniss doing all of this if she was going to die anyways? And the point is that war isn't fair. War is not fair. And the ending to this is just like, there is no happily ever after. Like, the fallout of war is rebuilding. That's what it is. There is no happy ending. Like, I mean, there can be, like, we can work our way to a happy ending. And that's what Katniss talks about in the epilogue. Like, near, like, the last page in the epilogue is just like, we can work towards that, rebuild ourselves little by little, but we won't ever be the same. I just feel for Katniss because she was just used. She was used, like, from both sides. And then, like, after she was broken, they just discarded her. Like, 15-year-old me was like not about it. Like, I was like, this is stupid. But like 30-year-old me, I'm like, I understand. I understand. And I'm rating this at 4 stars, even though I didn't enjoy most of Mockingjay because it was just a depressing mess. And that, my friends, concludes me reading the Hunger Games trilogy. I will not return to this series for another 10 to 15 years. Oh my God, I cannot go through this trauma again. And we still got 2 more books to read. So with that being said, I decided, because this vlog is already long, I'm breaking this into 2 parts. So part 1 is me reading the OG trilogy, and part 2 is going to be me reading the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise on the Reaping. So I'm sorry that this was super long, but I hope you guys still enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if you guys enjoyed it. And if you made it to the end of this very long vlog, put the little arrow emoji, like the bow and arrow emoji. Do I recommend this series 15 years later? Yes, especially with how things are politically right now. I think the Hunger Games reflects a lot of what's going on. So yes, I do think the Hunger Games trilogy is an important read. I think everybody should read it at least once. And I still think it holds up. And I think it is wonderfully written and the themes explored. Suzanne, somebody go check on my girl. Someone please go check on her, for real. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go because this is too long. This is too long. And I will see you guys for part 2, this Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise on the Reaping. Bye.